Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans, and let me just clarify a couple of myths perpetrated by people like the EFF, the BLF, and the new group called PERT or something like that. Their name doesn't really matter. Now, they're all suggesting that there is white monopoly capital that is driving their economy and their lives, and because of that, they are in poverty. That's bullshit. Let me clarify that. We'll get onto the issue of land in a second, but there are a few extremely wealthy whites, mainly based in Wall Street in America, who basically run the banks of the world today, including all your banks in South Africa. That's not the white population. I'm not going to say what their religion or race is or anything like that. I don't want to sound controversial. But all I'll say to you is that most whites have absolutely no finger in that jaundiced pie. Okay? Now, let's get back to the issue at hand. We're talking about the expropriation of land. What you have to understand, and I'll put a link below so you can actually look at this for yourself, is that the whole FIAT white monopoly capital system, as the party, the African parties in South Africa like to call it, is based on what they call fiat money. That's spelled F-I-A-T. And it's a Latin word for let it be. And that is what the whole financial system, including the rand in South Africa, is based on. Now, let me tell you about the fiat system. It's not based on any compound asset like gold or silver that's held in the bank to back it up. The whole fiat system is based on debt. Okay? Now, what is debt? Debt is where, for example, a white farmer with a farm in South Africa goes to the bank and says, hey, I have 30,000 hectares, I'm going to be producing so many thousand tons of mealies this year, and from that I will be able to pay back interest on a loan. And what the bank does, based on their own planning, and you can talk to any bank in South Africa and they will confirm this. It's not friggin' rocket science, okay? They will confirm that if they see that farmer can do what he's going to say, and he might have to take out insurance to cover the crops in case of a hailstorm or whatever, but they will literally create the money. They create it. It's just appeared out of nowhere, based on the asset that farmer is providing as collateral. So the farmer gets the money, and he can then go ahead and buy the crops and buy the seed and irrigate his crops and do what he has to do. And then as the money comes in from the crops he sells, he pays that back to the bank. That's how the financial system works. That is what the Africans are calling white monopoly capitalism. Okay? It's around the world. You can go anywhere in the world and you'll find that's how the finances of the world work today. It all changed in 1972 when the US went off the gold standard, so that their currency and no other currency today is backed by gold or silver. It's backed by someone else's debt. And I'll put a link down below which will give you such an easy explanation of that. Now, if you expropriate land with compensation and nationalize it, guess what? The asset has gone. And the banks can go and sue these people who've had their land taken away from them, but all they do is go bankrupt, and the banks go belly up because they can't do anything else. Legally, they can't do anything more than that. They can't go and have these guys hung up on a rope or something like that. I mean, there's nothing you can do. If you go bankrupt, you're bankrupt. And yes, it might hurt your reputation for a few years, but that's a hell of a lot cheaper than trying to pay off a loan when someone's stolen your land through expropriation of land without compensation, and the banks come after you for the debt that was based on the land that's been stolen from you. Now, I could give you a huge lecture about this whole subject because I know a lot about it, but I'm not going to. What I'm going to do is attach a video to this which will talk about the subject and suggest that you subscribe to this channel and to my live stream channel, which is different to this channel, and I will link it below. And I'll be going live tomorrow night with a couple of very, very interesting people. We'll be talking about issues in South Africa. And that'll be happening this Sunday at 8 p.m. Johannesburg time. But please subscribe, otherwise you won't know when we go live. All right, guys. Anyway, here's the video. And I just wish I could see. You know what the white South Africans need? Is they need someone to come out of the bush, like Churchill did, you know, before World War II, where he actually came out and, you know, steered Britain out of the issues they're facing. What South Africa needs right now is a very, very influential politician to come out and to take control. And I'm not talking about a Malema, and I'm not talking about a Ramaphosa. I'm talking about, there's a fellow in the Freedom Front who I've referred to a couple of times here. And he talks a lot of sense. And I think that he is probably where the future is going to be. All right, guys, take care. Bye for now.
Things might soon become very different for this particular South African farmer. Johan is on the list of white farmers whose land is targeted for expropriation.
So we'll be producing about 250,000 boxes of hours per year. But it runs right down to that store there at the bottom, and then it turns that way also.
He bought this 130-hectare avocado farm 7 years ago. But this isn't the farm the government is claiming. Johan has another 3,300-hectare private hunting reserve on the border with Zimbabwe.
You need a long period of time to breed up a proper breeding stock. As you can see, those Nyala bulls are beautiful. Look at this. It's a long-term investment.
After 20 years of investment, both his business plan and his dream are now in jeopardy. Several communities lay claim to the land, considering it to have been theirs before apartheid. Then a mining company was granted the right to prospect in the area, which is rich in coal. And so in 2013, the government began to negotiate.
We're willing to negotiate, but then the price must be right. We said we want 200 million rand. They said they're going to give us 20 million rand. And when we got the letter, within 7 days they want to inspect the farm and they want us to hand over the keys. All of a sudden you don't have a farm, so what must you do? The only thing that you can do is you can go to court, which we did.
The law that protects private property has been on his side so far. Johan still has the keys to his house, but for how long? the threat hasn't gone away. The authorities want to amend the constitution to remove the need to negotiate. Farmers are united.
We're against expropriation without compensation. It also shows a disrespect for property rights. And we actually said that we send out a hand of friendship to anybody that would want to join this fight. That is why
it looks like the authorities will have a fight on their hands. In South Africa, less than 20% of land has changed hands in the last 20 years. President Cyril Ramaphosa wants to speed up the process. In October, he personally oversaw the handing over of more than 4,000 hectares to a Zulu community.
And as we make history today, we are also commencing a rolling mass land distribution program in our country. We are going to be returning land in a massive way.
The sheer scale of the unused farmland is perceived as an injustice in itself. And even if only a small fraction actually belongs to white farmers, the prospect of redistribution appeals to all disadvantaged communities. Nor is the wine region of the Western Cape province free from the conflict. Vineyard owners are afraid that their workers will one day reclaim the land that the laborers have always lived on. The number of evictions is multiplying. Around 50 families here have received letters from the landowners asking them to leave their property.
I've been working on farms for 51 years, and yet to this day I cannot say to my children, this here is our house. We're going to end up burning down their houses if they don't start listening to us. We don't want to do that. But we have to own something. Up until now, nothing has changed. Still, I really believe each one of us has the right to own something.
Madeleine is a social worker who helps farm laborers threatened with eviction. There are over 200,000 people in this situation in the Western Cape. These workers, the first to fall victim to the growing panic among white farmers, are gripped by the debate over expropriation.
I don't think in the Western Cape the municipalities have enough land to provide all these people with housing. Where will they then stay? Because this is the area that they've been living for all of their lives. So because it's such a huge amount of people, I think this is a really good chance for the government to take this farm as a land expropriation farm.
Madeleine's NGO has got involved with the complex land debate by joining public hearings on expropriation in Parliament.
It's very important that women farm workers should be explicitly targeted and engaged and consulted in terms of how land is going to be redistributed.
South Africa's parliament has received over 700,000 motions concerning expropriation without compensation, half in favor and half against.
You must understand that this is not a referendum. The committee will then engage on deliberations in the report and design recommendations to Parliament. And Parliament will be the last to take a decision.
Public hearings have drawn to a close. The ball is now in the court of the MPs, who will decide whether to change the constitution to allow expropriation without compensation, and whether this drastic policy is the right one for the Rainbow Nation.